There's somebody that just listened to what you just said now, and they want to stay on risk management. They want to manage their losses, but all they have is $100. Now, this person don't have any other skill that pays them. They need to eat.
Yeah.
They need to take take transportation. They need to like settle bills, and they are depending on their $100 to make this thing work. How would you say this person should approach risk management? I mean, why don't they try flipping the $100 to like $10,000 in 2 days?
Well, they can. If we're being very honest, they can. You know, you could either choose slow death or instant death. You understand? You can either choose
At the
either
end of
of
the day,
them.
you die.
At the end of the day, you would die. So you can either choose instant death or slow death. Because you see, trading is like every other business.
Yeah.
We need to be very honest with ourselves. Trading is like every other business. You need funding. I don't know if you're watching this, but you need funding. Funding is, you can't take it out of trading. See, if we're both going to start a restaurant business, right? If you're starting with $1 million and I'm starting with $10,000, the way you would scale growth will be different from me. Let's be very honest. It's the same thing with trading. I love the illustration you gave, because when we talk about 5%, to the guy with $100, 5% is just $5.
Yeah.
But then with the guy with over $1 million, that's huge.
That's huge.
With 100K, 5% is $5,000. That is something anyone could live off with in Nigeria, and you will be among even the top rich guys.
You are the
$5,000 every month in Nigeria is very huge.
You're in the 1%.
So the thing is, trading needs capital. If we're being very honest, we need to identify, we need to like make this very clear to everyone listening that you need funding. I'm not telling you to go to investors or something. If it means for you to save, but you need funding. And I would say to these people, you know, save to the point where 10% of that money monthly could do something for you. You understand? If it means saving to, let's say, 500,000 naira, and you know that 10% out of that money, which is 50,000 naira, could mean something to you in a month, then it's fine. But coming back to the idea of risk management for those who have smaller accounts, see, it's going to be difficult, right? But it's possible. Now, if you aim for, let's say, you know, there was a time where I was doing a challenge for, you know, taking $500 to $1 million by the end of 2025. Now, the thing is, if you're looking at smaller accounts, you don't look at the value. You don't look at the amount itself. The moment you start focusing on the amount itself, it becomes almost impossible to grow with a proper risk management. You begin to think in terms of percentage growth. Now, percentage growth, when I say percentage growth, what I mean is, you know, when you have X amount of money, it's no longer $100. Now it's 100% of your equity. So the question now is, are you willing to risk 2% of that equity? Are you willing to risk 5%, 4% on every trade, right? You see, these are the decisions that you have to make yourself. But what I'm saying is, it's difficult. The best thing I can give to anyone who have $100 trading account is get a prop account, right? Get a prop account, because the prop firm was supposed to bridge between low capital funded traders and those who want to scale up capital, right? So go for prop accounts. But right now we have lots of firms that are making it difficult for traders to pass. But what I will say is, it's worth it when you go for prop accounts, because that way you could scale growth. But there are events where $100 could be grown into something decent. We've seen this time and time. But like I said, it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen all the time, because the human brain is wired in a way where we are motivated by events and we are demotivated by events. For example, if you come now and I give you $1 million, the way this interview would go will be different. Right? We are motivated by the outcome of events, our emotional beings, for being very honest, right? So the things we see motivate us. You can't wake up every single day disciplined enough making $1 every day.
Yes.
It will fail off. At some point, you will feel tired. It will now make you feel like, maybe I'm not doing too much. Let me increase it. Now, these are the time where you begin to ruin things. But the moment this 1% is over, let's say, $10,000 every day, come on, even when you don't feel like waking up, you wake up. So it's just that way. I can't really advise anybody to grow $100. Yes, attempt to flip. If you want to flip it, flip it. If it goes well in your favor, then you have something to build up with. Then you can scale. But I will tell you this, that if $100 is your last fund, I wouldn't advise you to flip it. This is how to grow it instead.
Exactly.
Now, You have $100. You could scale for 100% monthly, or let's not do 100% monthly. Let's do 100% every 2 months. So which means $100 to make $50 in a month.
In a month, yeah.
Now, this is very possible, to be honest. To someone who is very focused, I've done this before. It's highly possible. So what you're doing now is, now your target from $100 is $50. Now divide $50 by 20 trading days. Now that's if you're a day trader. It means you trade every single day.
Yeah.
Now, if you divide $50 by 20 trading days, I think you would have, let's just do this real quick because we're working. 50 divided by 20. It means you need to make $2.5 every day. You see how it's now looking realistic to achieve. Now, $2.5, if we divide $2.5 divide by 3, let's say your average risk to reward is 1 to 3 per setup. Yeah. Now, if we divide by 3, you have 0.8 cents per trade. So you see, now rather than risking $1 on every single trade, because or you're risking $10 on every single trade, now you know you only need to risk 0.8 cents. If you go 0.8 cents and aim for 1 to 3, you're gonna hit, I think, $2.5 like we just did. Now this is for every win you have, $2.5. Now you could now divide. This is what I do. I divide my $100 rather than the $50 target. I divide my $100 divide by 20 trading days. That's what I do. So that moment, $100 divided by 20 trading days will be $5 per day. So which means if you can make $5 per day in 20 trading days, you would make $100. Now, these $5 per day, there are days where your system would not perform. Definitely. So what I do with such calculation is, you know how they say aim for the stars. If you don't hit the stars, you might fall on the sky. You understand, on the clouds or something. So now you are overstretching to say to yourself, even if I don't reach that $100 target to hit $5 every single day for 20 days, I could do $70, $60. You see how you're hitting above the mark. But this requires discipline. It requires a certain kind of discipline, a discipline where you don't look at the numbers when you're starting. Because day one, you sit for like 4 hours, 5 hours on your chart just to make $5. Do you know how disappointing that is? To someone just starting out, they'll feel like, why now? I'm making $5. But then if you do this for 1 month, you hit your $50 target. Now you have 50%. Now you have $150. You do this for 2 months. You're able to hit $200. Now it's time to scale. Yeah. Now you're now taking $200 to $400 in another 2 months. $400 to $800. $800 to $1,600. $1,600 to over $3,000 something dollars. $3,200. You see how it goes. But then the beginning stage is where a lot of people get disappointed. So I'm not telling them that you can't do it. I've done it before. I've done it multiple times. For me, that's how I scale, because when I started trading, there wasn't prop firm, for being very honest. Prop firms were not really there. I think the first gig I got was from my Forex fund, and they've crashed now. So those guys were like the initial prop firm that we started like knowing about, if that makes sense. So when we started, the prop firm were not there, and I was really scared in terms of getting funds from investors, right? So this was how I scale my growth. You pick a certain account and you just keep going gradually. The early days might not look like a lot, but the moment you keep going, you eventually get there.
That's the compounding effect.
The compounding effect. And that's what trading is all about, if we're being very honest. See, there is no way you would have a system, a working system you've tested, and then that system will lose 20 consecutive days. It's not possible. If we're being very honest, if you follow that system, 20 days losses, then that's not a system. If it be a day trading system, you lose Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Another week comes, you lose again. Another week comes. No, now we've not seen that system. So which means if you divide the $100 divide by 20 days, there's a higher tendency that you may not hit that $100 profit. You will lose on some days. But then the moment where at the end of the month, you're maybe making $30 increase or $40 increase or $50 increase, keep to those money. They may look small, but imagine you're doing this regularly and you keep scaling up. Trust me, you get there.